We've been looking at superannuation for a couple of days now, right? And I think the first thing I gave you was our nice stock standard question. I think I said there was a man, but let's give him a name because, you know, it's nice for people to have names. Let's call him Johnny. Because there's no Johnnies in this class. We can call him Johnny Huang, just because there was a Johnny Huang last year, anyway. Okay, now, we said at the beginning, right, what did we start with? We said he was going to regularly invest a certain amount, right? He was going to get it at a certain interest rate. And I think we also said he was going to do it for a certain amount of time, right? And then our question was, okay, can we work out the final value at the end, the total value of this kind of investment in a superannuation scheme, right? And I think we got something like $37,000 or thereabouts. Okay. Now, do you remember, the next thing I asked you was we changed the question around, right? We said, okay, supposing if he ended up with $37,000, suppose he wanted more than that, suppose he wanted 50. Okay, how long would it take him to do that? So I was sort of eliminating this factor here, right? I was giving you a different piece of information. So you can see there's 4 bits, and if you've got 3, you can work out the last one, right? The missing piece. Okay. Now, did you get there? Let's have a go at working through this. If $50,000 is what I want to end up with, okay, then that's going to be equal to whatever we had over here before. Okay, and if you go back to the previous way you worked the question, we had the amount that was regularly invested multiplied by, now, what was over here? This was going to be the series, right? And we took the sum of the GP, we had that over here. So I think we had 1.08 times just doing it from memory. Someone stop me if I'm wrong. Now, of course, this was in the scenario where we had the 20 years, right? But right now, we've changed the question, and we've said, we don't know how many years there are. It's an indeterminate number of years. So we'll just call it n. And that's what we're trying to find. Okay. All right, now, the hard work has already sort of been set up, right? Because we've done this question already, and we've already got this piece here. Okay. So now if I want to work out n, there's just the one of them. So I just have to do a little bit of work to get n as the subject, right? Yeah. Okay. So if I take all of these numbers here and get your calculator out, and instead of having them on the right-hand side, I want them over on the left. Okay, so I'll get my 50 grand, and I guess I will multiply by 0.08 on the top, and divide by this number on the bottom. Is that okay? And what I'll be left with is this. Yeah, nodding. Okay. Now, who's got there, by the way? From memory, yeah. What number did we get? 4 point something, right? 4 point. Skipped a step. Don't skip steps.
Yeah, 4.94.
Yeah, okay, good. All right. Now, we'll just put that number for now. As you guys know, if we went with 4.94, and there's, you know, a whole bunch of decimal places off the end here, that could be okay, or it might not be, depending on what these numbers end up being. It could introduce an error that might cause a problem for us later. So you guys know you want to take that value, and you want to save it into your calculator so you can use the exact thing later on. Alright, now, seeing as that's 1.08 to the power of n minus 1, what was up here in the brackets before, I want the n, so I guess I'll kick that 1 over to the other side. So I'll make this on the left-hand side, and so on. And then you get to this point, and we actually gave you questions like this years ago, and what you had to resort to was trial and error, because it's kind of like, I can't simply divide by something or multiply by something to get to the end. But of course, you guys have gone past that. And we know about these things called logs, right? So this is an equation in index form. If I can rewrite it in logarithmic form, I can make n the subject, right? So n is going to be equal to, and again, try not to skip steps here, right? It's just extra places for errors to be introduced. It'll be log base. Now, you've got to go back to your logs and try and remember how to rewrite this. The way I remember it is, the power is what we're after, so that's why it becomes a subject, right? That's why we're using logs in the first place. When you're thinking about which number goes on the base and which one goes on the top, the base here will be the base from the original equation, okay? Base to base. So I'll have 1.08 down here and 5.94 and so on. Is that right? Okay, so how do I work out that? We've got no log base 1.08 on our calculator, unfortunately. So again, you've got to go back to your log rules and think about which one do we want here? Yeah, change of base. So you can choose any base you like, really, so long as it's the same. I'm just going to go for base E, because I have to write one less letter. And the top number will become the top number up here. And the bottom number, the base, will appear on the bottom. Okay, there you go. And now you get your calculator out at this point. Okay. Now, what do we get? It should be 20. Okay. Now, what is this telling us? What this means is that if we could freeze at an instantaneous point in time, at 23 and like an eighth of the way through the year, that's the point at which we would hit our 50,000. Okay? Except you remember from the original question, right? How frequently did we pay interest, or how frequently did it compound? It was annually, right? And we sort of did that, and many questions would do that just to keep the numbers simple, just so that this thing doesn't end up being divided by 365 or multiplied and so on. But that means that it affects our answer here. If it's partway through the 23rd year that I actually hit 50 grand, right? I don't actually get paid that. So for instance, if you went back to this equation, okay, and just ignore the left-hand side for a second, and put in n equals 23. Just actually try it, get your calculator out. If n is equal to 23, what's your total value equal to? Let's call it t for total. What do you actually get? Anyone get there? 49,000 and how much? 323, right. Okay, so that's why we've got this extra 0.15 here to get that extra $700, right? Except we don't get any of that extra money until the very end of the year. That is, when n is equal to 24. Okay? So when you get that, what's the value equal to? We should pass 50. 50 and what? 79. 790 or just 700? Okay, there you go. And there you are. Now, the reason why I draw this out is because people often get confused with some of these questions.
54.
Oh, right. Wait, what? Really? Oh, yeah, no, actually, because it's got 0.8 of the year to go, so yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so the reason why I put this out is because sometimes you go up, and sometimes you go down, and it can get confusing. Later on, when we're looking at, rather than investing money, trying to pay off money, again, it's a little confusing. So if you actually have your values there, you'll be like, oh, well, here I haven't got my 50 grand, and here I do. Okay. All right, so my final answer, Johnny needs to invest for 24 years. All right, so final amount as a question, here, this amount, okay, or time as a question. We've got 4 values, right? So can you guess what I'm going to ask next? Draw yourself up a table for me. 4 columns. Let's put our 4 values here, our variables, if you like, down. Let's try and get something systematic here, okay? So first we can have t, which is the total value, or the final value, if you like. Okay, that was the first question we asked, and then we gave you all the other pieces, right? The next question we might ask is time. Now, duration, I suppose, because it's actually a number of years, right? N tends to be the customary premium they put in there. Okay, so I'm going to call it N for duration, or number of time periods, I guess. It doesn't have to be years, it could be months or anything. Now, of course, the other 2 things we've got are the amount that he regularly invests, so I'll call that A, the regular investment amount. And the last one is the interest rate, so I'm going to call that R for rate. Okay, now, let's actually just fill this out because we've got some values for these, right? Just as examples. Before, we gave time, we gave the amount, and we gave the interest rate. And then we ended up at, 37,000 roughly, yeah? Just now we worked out if we changed this value, right? Change it to 50 grand. Then we'd have to go for longer, right? 24 years, we said, at the same regular investment and the same interest rate, okay? So we're looking at this value here, that's what we're trying to work out. Then this one. So, what if we had to go with this one? What if we said, poor Johnny, he got diagnosed with cancer or something. He's like, I'm not going to hang around for 24 years. I need to go with my original 20-year plan because for some reason I'm going to die in 20 years. Okay? So if we said, I still need, for some mysterious reason, $50,000 and I'm limited to 20 years. Okay? And this institution has no compassion on me despite the fact that I have terminal cancer. They're still just going to give me 8%. So my question is, okay, how much am I going to have to change my regular investment each year so that I hit my target? Okay? So when you have a think about that, give it a go, and then we'll come back to you after you've worked it out.